Hi there, and welcome back to Model Horses, of course. Today we have a very fun subject to talk about, some of our favorite things in model horsedom. The Breyer Stablemate G1 quarter horse mare, sculpted by the incomparable Maureen Love, and mold mark details. How exciting! I think so. I think this is a great subject. So let's get on with it. The Breyer quarter horse mare G1 was issued first mid-1975. She was first announced, I think, in the fall dealers flyer. They didn't really have catalogs. Actually, they did have catalogs, but she was announced in the Breyer September fall release group, so late 1975. She ran through about 1988-89 in regular run and special run. She developed some mold problems so that when she came out of the mold, she had some flaws that they weren't able to correct in finishing, and so she was discontinued until very recently. She showed up as a club release, and we were quite excited because she is such a cute mold. So I have here two examples of the regular run Palomino that ran from about 1985 to 87, three examples of the buckskin that ran from 75 to about 88. So let's talk mold marks. The very, very first ones that were issued late 75, early 1976 had no mold marks. Their bellies were completely blank. But very soon thereafter, mid-1976, they got added the standard Breyer mold mark. Hopefully you can see this. I brought some lighting out so it could show up a little bit on camera. It says Breyer Molding Company, copyright 1976. So a lot of times you'll find these horses in antique stores and the dealer will say, oh, they're from 1976. Well, not necessarily. That is when this was copyrighted. And then obviously this little gal was made from 75 to 88, so anytime in that time period. But that is the mold mark that was put on mid-1976 and stayed on her for the rest of her run. She has no other mold marks, but that one. Then came some interesting story time. Mid-1970s, like 77, 78, Peter Stone, who was the owner of the company, wanted to move production to Mexico. So he actually, the story goes, moved the El Pastor mold down there, molded a few. It did not go well. So I'm not sure, I don't think I've heard of any of those examples of El Pastors showing up with, they had supposedly a made in Mexico stamp inside the back leg. But in preparation for this trial, they also added a Mexico stamp to this mold. So hopefully it will show up. But at the top, right above the Breyer, it says Mexico. So it was added to the mold, but this mold never went down to Mexico. She was produced up in Chicago, and the mold, the words Mexico just stayed on. So they were added 77, 78. They stayed on through at least the mid-1980s. So you can kind of see that this horse was made maybe the earlier, a little bit later. I think this horse has a similar collection of mold marks. So she has that Mexico stamp that's above the Breyer Molding Company, 1976. You can also find examples of this mold with just the Breyer Molding Company. So like that first one, she just has the Breyer Molding Company, 1976. After having these horses and looking at them to do this video, I noticed she doesn't always have the cleanest mold cleaning under her jowl and chin area. So if you're looking for one to show, make sure you check out that they did some nice seam cleaning, because not all of them got that. But in any case, back to the mold information. In the late 1970s, Breyer added the letter B to a lot of their molds. So this horse It's in between, it's on her chest, in between her front legs. There is a letter B. I think you can kind of, there, that kind of showed it nicely. And this horse actually she has a trifecta. She has the Mexico, Breyer Molding Company 1976, and the letter B on her belly. That letter B was added, like I said, late 70s, like 1979, ran through the early 80s, about 1983, and then was removed. So this horse has the trifecta of stamps. And so if you have any horse from Breyer, really, because they did change that mold mark underneath, especially in the stablemates, there's all kinds of little details about mold mark changes. Always take a look at them because they can tell you a little bit about when it was made, and maybe it will help you date it. Because as you can see, that front quarter horse mare is a nice golden buckskin. The next two are a little yellowier, if that's a word. And then in the Palominos, the front one is almost a sorrel. She's of super rich color, and the one in the back is more yellow. Between coloring, the details, and those details like the mold marks, it can help you learn more about your horses. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I will figure out some more interesting information to share with you next time, so join me then. Thank you.